Hi, I'm Unpredictable, and welcome to my zero damage solo Zamorak guide. This method is meant for low level, low defense, or budget gear trips, and if you're maxed with max gear, there are better methods out there that have slightly more DPS that I'll link in the description. And you can also use it for the no damage from Zamorak minions combat achievement task, but that one is also doable, just kind of RNGing it with the other faster methods. So here are the tile markers that I use in this method, and I'll put the export codes for them for RuneLite in the description, so that you can just import them into your RuneLite. You start each kill on the tile marked 1, and then just for the first rotation you skip the attack on this tile, and then you run to 2, you attack there, and same with 3, 4, and then 5. And then you run back to 1 through 6, and you skip the attack that you kind of would have done on the tile marked 6. 6 is kind of an optional tile to mark. I used to click on it because I didn't zoom out too much, so it was hard to click on the tile marked 1 all the way from 5. But I don't do that anymore. I just click directly to 1 from 5. So if you do that as well, just don't mark this tile marked 6. So the basic idea behind this method is just to always keep the ranger and the major minions alive in order to make it easier to flick them at each kill, so you don't have to re-off tick them and so on. The entire rotation that you do in this method is a multiple of 5 ticks as well, so you'll be doing the same exact flicking pattern each time you do it, since the minion's attacks are 5 ticks long. For this method, you don't actually want the range and mage minion to be 1 tick apart, you want them to be 2/3 ticks apart, because you'll be alternating between these two flicking patterns. Minion 1 and Minion 2 are just the range and mage minions, or the mage and range minions. I just called Minion 1, whichever one is 3 ticks after and 2 ticks before the other minion. Just by convention, I usually have Minion 1 be the ranger and Minion 2 be the major. So let's look at this first cycle, flick Minion 1. And let's pretend we're using my convention where Minion 1 is the ranger and Minion 2 is the mage. You'll be flicking range prayer right when the ranger attacks, and then just flicking back to mage and camping mage prayer the rest of the time. And it's the opposite for the other cycle, for flick Minion 2. And you want the minions more than 1 tick apart, because you'll be flicking the melee minion once per rotation, 1 tick after whichever minion you're switching the prayer to. So if you're camping mage prayer and flicking the ranger, say, on this first cycle, you'll be flicking the melee minion 1 time per rotation, 1 tick after the ranger. And kind of the opposite for the second cycle, it'll be 1 tick after Minion 2. And you always flick the melee minion right when you're leaving tile number 5. So as you leave tile number 5, first you'll flick whichever minion you're flicking that time, then you'll switch to melee prayer, and then you'll switch back to the prayer you're camping. You alternate between these two flicking patterns just because of the way the timing lines up for the boss death and the beginning of the kill. Here's some example rotations for both flicking patterns. First, flicking the mage. Now, flicking the ranger. Once the boss is dead and you want to off-tick the melee minion with the other two, I find it easiest to either use the off-ticking that you already do on tile 5, if you're close to it or you just passed it, or to put the melee minion after Minion 2, before Minion 1, because there are 2 ticks available there instead of 1 if you had it the other way around. Now, 2 of the tiles are marked green for a reason. These are the tiles where you'll be attacking and flinching K'ril. The flinch on tile number 2 is just kind of accidental, and that's used to set up the flinch for number 5. But the flinch on number 5 actually prevents you from getting hit by the boss when you're running away. That's why you get hit by only the melee minion and not the boss himself. This is also the reason why you skip the attack on tile 1 on the first attack of the kill, because you want to set up the flinch on tile 2 so that you also flinch on tile 5. You can only flinch the boss every 11 ticks, so that's every 3 attacks if you're attacking every 5 ticks. Here's an example of me messing up the flinch timer and fixing it just by not attacking until I reach a certain square. So now we come to the hardest part of the method, that is the setup kill. So when you enter the room, the mage position is very important. You want to make sure the mage is at least completely north of these blue tiles right here, this blue diagonal. And I like to even go one tile further north than that, just to be safe. Because if you don't do that, then the mage can be stuck on top of this tile 3 or close to it, which can make clicks very difficult. If you want the range in the mage to be off-ticked right away during the first kill, because it's pretty hard to off-tick them during the kill without getting hit by the boss. This is the rough relative positioning of the range in the mage that you wouldn't want. So you wouldn't want the east side of the ranger to be around one tile more east than the east side of the major. I think the specific layout would be still one tick apart, but in general, if you have the ranger to the west side of the mage, they should usually be off-ticked when you run to tile 1 at the start of the kill. And then obviously another thing to consider is being able to run to tile 1 while having the boss aggroed on you, but him not hitting you. So assuming the mage and the ranger are at least off-ticked, you probably want to flick them on the first kill, but maybe neither of them are on the tick where it's easy to flick them. There are multiple places in the rotation where you can gain or lose ticks to change the relative timing between your attacks and the minion's attacks. My personal favorite is just to attack one tick sooner on tile 1 than you usually do. But you can also use tiles east of tile 5 instead of 5 itself and lose a couple ticks that way. You can wait an extra tick on 4 and so on. And you can probably find more examples yourself. And then the last kind of small thing is setting up the timing of the melee minion spawning so that you don't tank a melee hit at the beginning of the kill. This is pretty negligible, considering if that's the only hit you take, then you can probably just heal up with blowpipe specs or whatever else. But if you want to, you can set it up so that the melee minion spawns on the same tick that minion 2 attacks, or using my convention, the same tick that the mage attacks. Or you can do one tick after that as well. You can change the relative timing of the melee spawning just by delaying the range in the mage minion the same number of ticks before a kill, but make sure to do it in such a way so that you can still set up a flicking pattern for the next kill. And here's an example entrance kill. You can see I forgot to turn run off, don't do that. And you can also see that I waited to attack the boss until it had been a while since I had been in his melee range, and until I reached a flinch tile. Then since the minions are off-ticked, I know I can flick one of them. I noticed that if the mage were attacking one tick later relative to me, then it would be easily flickable. So I just speed my attacks up by a tick by attacking one tick earlier on tile 1. And after that, everything is set up. And now just a few notes about gear setups. The Ring of Endurance is by far the best ring you can use because it basically cuts your stamina usage in half. I just don't use it because I'm not 70 agility. And then also if you're using a crossbow with diamond bolts, as opposed to maybe a twisted bow or a bowfa on accurate, you can prioritize prayer bonus over range bonus more than you do using those other setups. So that's why I have so much prayer bonus here. And then obviously you can bring boots that give range bonus or prayer bonus. I just haven't done Edgar's Ruse, so I still have to run there, unfortunately. But for this setup, this is a pretty decent inventory. And that's it. You can actually get a good number of kills per trip with this method, considering the gear or levels you would be going into with it. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments, and I'll pin good questions that I think might be repeated in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and good luck on your drops.